Hello there, and welcome to another Starfield video. As the title says, today we're going to be taking a look at 6 pistols, which in my opinion are the best pistols for all the main playstyles when it comes to making a pistol build character, or even just using pistols in general. So we're going to start off with quite an interesting pistol. So this is the automatic pistol. This is kind of the main automatic pistol in the game. As you can see here, it's called the Kraken. So this is made by the Crimson Fleet. It's a pretty cool looking SMG style, but it is a pistol. It's like a machine pistol. So something to note when it comes to weapons in this game. So there is different there's different kind of tiers of weapons, much like when it comes to ships in the game. So basically, you have basic weapons, calibrated weapons, refined weapons, and then advanced weapons. And advanced weapons are kind of like the ones you want to aim for. Generally, advanced weapons start to appear around level 26 plus. So today we're going to be taking a look at the advanced weapons, the max level weapons. Now, obviously, if you were to get your hands on the lowest level of the weapon, in some cases it will still perform just as good. It'll just do a little bit more damage. So yeah, so we're going to be looking at, first of all, the Kraken. So as you can see here, it's this is the advanced Kraken. It's a submachine pistol, or a machine pistol. It fires 6.5mm. It's got a default mag of 25. It's got a fire rate of 150. Its range is quite low, 21. Accuracy 71.5. Don't really need to worry too much about the accuracy. It's a pretty light weapon at 1 mass. Now, as you can see, looking at it, it's got some pretty unique aesthetics to it. So it's got a green and kind of red. It's got some writing on it, says the Kraken there, and then we have no gods, no masters. I really like that saying. I think that is it. Voltaire said that, the philosopher. And then we've got an actual Kraken on the bottom, or the bottom of the where the buttstock would be. And then on the other side we have the Crimson Fleet symbol. We have an Anarchy symbol, and then we have a couple of notches for potential kills, I'm assuming. So yeah, so let's take a look at the attachments first and foremost. So being this is a machine pistol, just to ignore those guys chatting. So being this is a machine pistol, this is perfect for anybody that wants to. They want their primary weapon to be kind of a personal defense weapon, like meant primarily for, you know, close quarters engagements where you need to burst down someone quickly. So if we take a look at some of the attachments, on the barrel we have access to the standard barrel by default. We have access to the long barrel, which increases our accuracy and our range by a little bit, but it also increases our mass. And then we've got the bull barrel, which increases the accuracy a little bit more. It also increases, it gives a little bit more stability, so because of the heavier barrel, it basically doesn't kick as much. And then finally, we're going to lower the volume. Okay, the volume of the guy in the background, he's a bit of an idiot. So basically, finally we have the suppressor. Suppressor, as it says, it gives a little bit more accuracy, decreases the range just a little bit, but it makes the weapon silent. So for laser mods, we have no laser sight, or we have a laser sight. So the laser sight increases your accuracy by a small amount, and it also makes it helps with target acquisition and increased accuracy, like it says. For optics, we have the option of an iron sight, which is just your standard iron sight, and then we have a reflex sight. Pretty interesting. For the muzzle, we can go with a compensator. We can go with a muzzle brake, a large muzzle brake, and then a standard muzzle. So the muzzle brake, it just increases your accuracy by a small percentage. The larger muzzle brake also does the same. And then the compensator, it increases your stability and hip fire. So all of these have obviously different, as you can read them. It increases your long range accuracy and stability at the cost of hip fire. And then it further increases your accuracy and stability at the cost of hip fire. And then a compensator increases. Now, because this is an SMG and because it's meant to be used close range, I would recommend using any sort of attachments that increase your hip fire. For the magazines, we have the standard mag. We have the large mag, so standard mag is 25. Large mag increases the mag to 40 at the cost of aim down sight speed and reload speed. We've got the Gutbuster rounds. It says nasty rounds. Upon firing at enemy, explode out the back into a burst of shrapnel. That increases the damage by 3 to 21. And then we have the drum magazine, which would increase the mag to 55. So vastly increase the mag at the cost of... So ideally here, I would probably recommend you the large mag. I wouldn't go the drum mag just because you're losing out a fair bit on like your ADS and your reload speed. And then finally for the internal, we have hair trigger, which increases your fire rate, high power, which increases damage, and high velocity, which increases the range and accuracy. So once again, I would go with hair trigger. So we're going to equip this to the best of its capabilities, and we're going to take it for a test. Alright, so here we are at the location. So just to confirm with these weapons and stuff, so I have a pistol build set up, which basically I've got pistol certification. So the stats for that are my pistols do 50% more damage, and pistol kills grant an additional 25 crit chance for 5 seconds. And then I also have targeting, increase accuracy and range when shooting without aiming. So my accuracy while ADS or without ADSing is really, really good, and I have a chance of disarming. So obviously, like, when it comes to reviewing these weapons, they're going to be performing quite well. If you don't have specific perks, they're going to be performing less well. But generally speaking, you're just going to be looking at like a flat damage increase with a lot of these perks. I am also playing on normal, I think. No, I'm playing on very hard. Okay, we're playing on very hard. Nice. So let's do it. So this little area, we're just going to test by fighting some enemies. A couple of enemies here if I don't get stuck floating midair. So we're going to be putting this to the test. These are the special rounds on the pistol. As you can see, they explode, which is quite cool. Very reminiscent of the explosive perks from Fallout. It has a satisfying kind of sound, but it doesn't... We're playing on very hard, obviously, so enemies are very bullet spongy. Simeon is currently going ham. I do apologize. And then we'll find another enemy over here. Just try and show the range on this. As you see, the range isn't too bad, but obviously you're going to have difficulty trying to snipe with it. It's actually pretty accurate. So that's the Kraken. Now we're going to look at our next weapon on the list. Alright, so the next weapon we're going to be taking a look at is the Razer Back. So this is going to be kind of the revolver section. So there's a couple of revolvers in the game. I went with this one because it felt like the most kind of westerny. So it's, as you can see, we're using the advanced version of the Razer Back. It's a pistol, like with all these other weapons. It does base damage of 233 physical, fires 7.5mm, mag 6. 12 fire rate, 52 range, 68.9 accuracy, and then 2.3 mass. So it kind of looks like your standard revolver if it's been kind of modified slightly. It's got that barrel, or that kind of bull bar at the top that adds like a Picatinny rail. If you were to actually remove that barrel, it kind of has like, it looks a little bit like the Webley, just elongated version. So we're going to go and really quickly check the modifications on this bad boy. This is obviously, this is the best kind of weapon, or in my opinion, if you're going for the kind of the, kind of a wandering gunslinger sort of vibe. So we've only got 2 barrels. We've got the standard barrel and the short barrel. Now the short barrel decreases your accuracy and your range at the cost of giving you extra ADS. Now it doesn't look too bad. I feel like, you know, when you're going for that big iron on your hip, you just want that, you know. For laser, same as before, it's got a laser sight or not. We're just going to add the laser sight for testing, just because it increases your accuracy. For sights, so we've got a couple of sights here. So we've got the iron sights, we've got a recon scope, we've got a reflex scope, and we've got a short scope. Now the short scope gives it 2 times magnification. The reflex sight gives us quicker target ADS and visibility, and then the recon scope marks enemies. I feel like for the sake of this, if you wanted to get the maximum amount of the maximum amount of range, you would go with the short or the recon. But I'm just going to go with no scope because I feel like, you know, gunslingers don't really aim. Now for the muzzle, we have a couple of mods here. So we've got obviously no mod. We've got a muzzle brake, which increases long-range accuracy and stability at the cost of hipfire accuracy. Compensator, which does the opposite, increases your hipfire. And then we've got a suppressor, which honestly looks, even though it doesn't really look like a suppressor, but it definitely looks the coolest. For the sake of this, I'm going to go with the compensator, just because, again, we're kind of playing into the hipfire gunslinger. For the standard grip, for the grips, we got standard grip, or we've got the tactical. It increases ADS, reload speed, and stability. Magazines, so we've got your standard white out hot rounds. They're chemically tipped that burn on contact, which sounds lovely. Penetrator rounds, increased, incredibly powerful rounds that can pass through multiple targets. Depleted uranium rounds, they can penetrate any armor, and armor piercing. Now you'll notice here with the rounds, so the penetrator rounds increase the damage up to 278. Depleted uranium and armor piercing go to 250. So I'm going to go with penetrator rounds for this test. And then for the Eternal, we have a hair trigger, high power, or high velocity. I'm going to go with high power. So high velocity increases the fire rate. It gives an extra 3 to the fire rate. High velocity increases your range and accuracy, and high power gives you a flat damage buff. And then for the receiver, we have semi-automatic or a binary trigger. The binary trigger basically increases the fire rate, allowing for faster trigger pull. Now, once again, I'm not going to be going with that just because... Actually, give me 1 second. All right, we're back. I found some lubricant. Simeon was hiding it. All right, so we got the binary trigger. So the main thing behind the binary trigger is it increases the fire rate. It allows you to fire on pull and release the trigger. So basically, you should fire twice as fast. But yeah. So we're gonna check it out. So we're gonna now go and shoot some people and see how it performs. All right, so here we are testing the modified Razer Back. Oh, okay, so as you can see, the Razer Back does a lot of damage, and it does fire twice in one pull. Just one pull of the trigger. So it fires a lot quicker. I see where that stat makes sense now. The only kind of downside with these revolvers is your limited capacity. Well, that kind of makes up for it in its... So it excels both in hipfire and ranged, because it kind of... You don't have to worry too much about recoil. Now, obviously, having this attachment, you can see the kick is a little bit high. So if you were to not use the binary trigger, you wouldn't have to worry as much about the recoil. And then you could also, if you wanted to, you could put on the scope. I don't really like the scope on a revolver just because I feel like, you know, more trusty. You can really mag dump this weapon. I'm gonna get one more target. Hello there. So this is the Razer Back. Hope you guys enjoyed. Now we're going to jump on to the next weapon. Alright, so not too far from the other weapons. This is another revolver-y type of weapon. It's more like a sci-fi revolver. This is the advanced mag shot. So the mag shot is kind of the way the manufacturer describes it is it's like a railgun, but instead of it being like a kind of a single kind of rounded railgun, they tend to be like multiple rounds. As you can see, the mag shot fires 3 rounds in one go, and it has that kind of cylindrical design. So damage wise, it does 237 damage. This is one of the harder hitting weapons in the game. It fires .43 MI, which I'm not sure what MI stands for. We'll find out in a minute. It's got a mag of 6, fire rate of 25, range of 26, accuracy of 65, and a mass of 2. If we check out some of the stats on this bad boy, or the modifications. So for the barrel, we've got standard barrel, we've got magnetic rails, or we have long barrel. So long barrel increases accuracy, recoil, and range at the cost of ADS speed. And the magnetic rails increases rate of fire, damage, cost of sight speed. For lasers, we've got no laser or your standard laser. This is the same, and it keeps your accuracy and makes it so you can mark enemies when you ADS. For the muzzle, we've got a compensator, increased stability and hip fire, actually at the cost of range. We've got a muzzle brake, increases long range accuracy at the cost of hip fire. And then we have a shock charge band, electrified device that attaches an electronic burst to the energy. Is making so it gives it shock damage, I believe. It doesn't say it changes anything, but kind of interesting. For the magazine, we've got standard rounds. We've got a tactical mag, which doesn't seem to change anything. It basically is a lighter mag that increases aim down sight speed and reload. We've got depleted uranium rounds, which increase the damage by about 30, and it also penetrates armor better. And then we've got armor piercing rounds, which are more powerful casings, can penetrate even the most sturdiest armor. So it seems like depleted uranium is kind of the strat to go with for this, because it has the same damage as the armor piercing, but it increases the range by quite a lot. And then finally for the internal, we have the hair trigger, high velocity. Hair trigger makes the fire a little bit better, but you lose some accuracy and range. High velocity increases your accuracy and range. And then we've got the receiver. We've got fully automatic or semi-automatic. Main difference being, if we go fully automatic, it doubles the not doubles it, increases the fire rate by quite a bit, but we lose some accuracy. So now we're going to upgrade the weapon to its best capabilities, and we're going to try it out. Alright, so we've fully modified the weapon. Now we're going to try it out. So we're rocking with all of the fancy attachments. You can see we got them depleted uranium rounds. So the depleted uranium rounds, they have like a cool kind of effect on them, like green, which is quite cool. So it fires. It's kind of, I don't really understand how it works, considering. Oh, it's because it's full auto. I mean, does it change? Oh, interesting. Okay. I was gonna say the barrel doesn't spin, but that's because it's full auto. The barrel does spin. So it does a lot of damage, as you can see. This is kind of like, if you want like probably one of the more powerful ballistic weapons in the game, this is it. I'm not really sure what the electronic, like the shock attachment does, because I'm not seeing it now. It could be I'm killing these guys too quickly. But yeah, this is the... Oh, what I missed. Okay. Hello there, we're gonna shoot a little bit. Oh, it does a little bit of dot damage, you can see. Damage over time. What was that? Ah, that was crap. Okay, anyway. So, this was the mag shot. So, pretty good if you're looking for just an all-around good ballistic weapon that does a lot of damage. Now we're going to go on to the next weapon. Alright, so next to the list, we're going to be taking a look at the XM2311. So the main kind of reason I put forward this weapon and the role you'd play it in is this is going to be the suppressed weapon. So as you can see, it's like a futuristic kind of M1911. I'm assuming that's the kind of the play on the 2311. It was made in 2311, so 1911. So it's got some decent stats. Obviously, we're gonna modify it first before we look at the base stats. So we're going to. Okay, so if we were to have the standard magazine, I think that's the only. Yeah, it's the only mod. So with the standard magazine, it has a base damage of 153.1. It shoots 45 caliber, 9 rounds the mag by default. It's got a 66.7 fire rate, 71% accuracy, 23 range, and 1.65 mass. So we look at the modifications. So we have a laser sight option. No laser sight or laser sight. We're going to go with laser sight, obviously, because it's going to be like our stealth weapon. We're going to be like sneaky, you know, Splinter Cell style. So for the optic, you have the option between an iron sight, a red dot sight, or a short scope. Now, usually I would go with the iron sight. We're going to go with the short scope for this one, just because we want to pump our accuracy. Now, the main difference is the red dot gives us better target acquisition. Short scope gives us a 2x multiplier. For the muzzle, we have a compensator, which increases your stability and hip fire at the cost of accuracy. No mod. Short suppressor, and then a long suppressor. So, suppressor obviously increases your accuracy, and it makes your rounds more silent, and you lose out on some range. So we're going to go with the large suppressor. For the magazine, we've got large magazine, or we've got armor piercing. I'm going to go with large magazine as opposed to armor piercing, because while you do get an extra like 15 damage, I feel like having the ammo is a little bit better. For the internal mod, we've got a hair trigger, high power, or high velocity. We're going to go with the hair trigger increases the fire rate, the high power increases damage done, and the high velocity increases your accuracy. We're going to go with hair trigger just because you kind of want to fire this off as quick as possible, you know, like kind of like Hitman. We're going to go now and we're going to check it out, see how it performs. Alright, so we're approaching the area. We're going to be a little bit more sneaky this time, so we get a little bit closer. Now obviously with the perks for like sneaking and stuff, you can make any weapon, well most weapons technically sneaky, but we're just going to, for the premise of if you're using this weapon as a kind of a stealth build. Oh, okay. It's got a decent fire rate. Oh, I've been spotted already. Nice. Okay, we're gonna ditch stealth. And we're just gonna hip fire this bad boy. It's got a really high fire rate, which is probably why like this weapon has one of the highest DPSs in the game for pistols. Getting some crits there. We don't have a whole lot of ammo. See how it performs at range. Okay, it's quite accurate. And then, hello, Spacer, how are you? So this is definitely a good gun if you're looking for that kind of stealth playthrough, or you just want a kind of a classic, or like a futuristic twist on a classic weapon. So that was the futuristic M1911, or the XM2311. So now we're going to move on to the next weapon on the list. Alright, so the second last weapon on the list, and what I've kind of given the title of the best energy weapon in the game, is the Veron Star shards. This is a personal favorite of mine. So this is a weapon created by House Veron. They're kind of one of the main factions in the game. Quite an interesting faction. They're very kind of like shrouded in mystery. We don't know an awful lot about them. All we know is that they worship supposedly a celestial being called the Great Serpent, and they make some kick-ass weapons. So the base stats of this weapon is it does physical, but it also does energy damage. 85 physical, 260 energy. It uses light fuse. It's got a default mag at 12. It's got a fire rate of 12, range of 41, accuracy of 72.4, and a mass of 2.6. So we're going to really quickly go look at the modifications. This is a weapon that I used, like, my first playthrough the entire time once I found it. Just because it does an awful lot of damage. The only kind of downside with it is that it has quite a slow fire rate. So we've got the standard barrel and we've got the long barrel. With the standard barrel, it's a lot lighter, but we lack a little bit of range and accuracy. Laser sight, like as always, you can have no laser sight, which better target acquisition and increased accuracy. Recon laser sight, which marks enemies and also gives you increased accuracy. Optic, we've got a standard iron sight, a glow sight, which just glows, or a reflex sight, which gives you quicker target acquisition. For the muzzle, we have a spread nozzle, which changes shots to fire like a shotgun spread. No mod. We have focus nozzle, which increases the damage. Increases the damage by quite a lot. Increases damage, headshot damage, and range. You notice here the physical jumps by an extra 9, whereas the energy jumps by an extra like 50. And then the focal lens, which is meant for increasing your accuracy. So we're going to go with the focus lens. And then for the magazine, we have standard magazine, large magazine, or annihilator rounds. Large magazine, increases the mag up to 20. Annihilator rounds, banned by almost every government. These rounds have a disease-like effect. Now, one thing I will say about these is I personally do not like Annihilator rounds, because if you're ever fighting in combat and there's friendly NPCs anywhere nearby, the rounds can trigger them. So you're better off not using them. It also doesn't really increase the damage at all. It just kind of, yes, we're going to go with the large mag. And then for the Eternal, we have Overclocked or Amplified. As you can see, Overclocked increases the fire rate, Amplified increases the damage by another drastic amount. And then for the, we have Burst Fire or Semi-Automatic. So 2 rounds per trigger pull. We're going to go with that one. And let's go try it out, shall we? Alright, we're back to our usual spot again. Got all of the attachments. I love how these spacers are quite nice enough to give you the option to leave without leaving. So as you can see, the damage on this thing is insane. So I have the perk or the mod that increases. It basically fires bursts to 2 rounds. And I also, like I said before, I'm running a pistol build, but even without the pistol build, this thing is insane. If you definitely want a kind of a more like alien-looking sidearm for either your pistol build or just in general, this definitely kind of goes well. It is insane damage. The only kind of downside with this weapon is it can be quite tricky to find because vendors can stock it, but it's quite rare. And the ammo is usually very hard to come across. Vendors will usually stock very limited amounts. So, like, in order to get, like, say, like, a couple 100 rounds, you might have to sit at a vendor for a couple of minutes just refreshing their inventory. But as you can see, like, the damage alone, it's insane. If and when Bethesda add a survival/hardcore mode to the game, I feel like this is going to be one you want for your pistol builds, just because it's quite efficient with its you know, like, ammo capacity. If I could actually hit them. Yeah, that was the House Veron Star Shard. Now we're gonna go on to our last weapon. All right, so finally we have the Nova Light. It's a particle beam pistol. It is made by one of the subsidies of Ryujin. So if you have been watching any of my streams, a little bit of a plug there. I stream every Friday night around 7:30 GMT. So this is a pretty interesting weapon. So it's quite similar to the House Veron Star Shard in that it fires physical and energy, but where this the cool quirks of it is that you can set it to do EM damage, which basically means it can be used as a stun, like kind of like, you know, set phasers to stun. So we look at the base stats. It's got 36 physical damage, 111 energy damage. Does life use uses life use ammo. It's got a mag of 12, fire rate of 22. Range of 39, accuracy of 70, 1.35. So now we're going to modify. Now I'm going to modify this one purely with the intent of it being a kind of an EM weapon. So we look at some of the stats. We've got standard barrel and long barrel. The long barrel increases accuracy, recoil, and range at the cost of ADS speed, which is quite nice. We'll go with that one. For the laser sight, you've got standard again. You've got a laser sight or the recon. I would probably recommend going with Recon Laser Sight. They both increase ADS speed and target acquisition, but the Recon also marks enemies. For the optics, we've got Glow Sight or Reflex. I'm going to stick with Glow Sight just because I feel like the Reflex a bit. For the muzzles, we've got the Focal Lens, which specialized lens that increases accuracy, so it increases the accuracy by 2%. Or we have the Focus Nozzle, which increases the damage by a little bit. Now for the magazine, this is where where we're going. So we're going to change to electromagnetic beams, rounds that knock out living creatures as well as disable robots for a time. So if we were to go standard, we have the option of standard magazines, large magazines, which increases the ammo to 20, or Annihilator rounds, or those rounds again I was telling you about. And then for the internal, we have an amplifier that increases the power output and damage, jumps up the damage by quite a bit, or overclock, which increases the fire rate. So we're going to go with overclocked. And then for the receiver, we can do burst fire or semi-automatic. We're going to go with burst fire. And then I'm going to put on the electromagnetic beams. And we're going to go with the focal nozzle like so.
You really know your way around a firearm.
Now we're going to go test this out and show you how it goes. Alright, so nearly here. So the big thing with this, the reason I kind of have this on the list, is if you're playing a pacifist character or a character who has to come across like missions where they have to sneak through an area, but their sneak isn't very good, this is the kind of a weapon that you can use. So every time you hit a target with the weapon, you'll see a little bar, the bar increases. When the bar fills up, that blue bar on top fills up, the characters get knocked out. Now because we're playing on very hard difficulty, it obviously takes a lot longer. And if you were sneaking, it would be a lot easier. And there you go, character has been knocked out. We'll try another one. Against robots, they don't actually stay out for long with the robots, which I learned the hard way. As you can see, they don't stay out at all, which is pretty interesting. Look for another target. It takes quite a lot if you're not sneaking. This is definitely something that I would recommend using with a sneak skill. But honestly, for a lot of people with the sneak skill, you're better off. See those guys? They will stay out for quite a while, as you can see. Probably stay out for a couple of minutes. For Simeon, find someone else looking for like a high-level character. We'll try this one. Hello. It takes, as you can see, these are level 14 on very hard. It takes just over 2 mags to knock them out. In like combat situations like this, it's probably not going to be very advantageous. But if you're doing some of the other missions, like say for instance, if you're doing some of the stealth missions from Ryujin, or even some of the ranger missions, it's going to be a lot more advantageous. And knock this guy out. And there you go. So now we're just going to go over the final thoughts. Alright, so that was pretty much it for the video. Obviously, this video, there's like a lot of personal opinion when it comes to like certain weapons. But some of the opinion is based on like facts, such as like the stats of specific weapons. Like for instance, the mag shot and the 2311 are both very good DPS weapons, as is the Star Shard. There is also more pistols there, but for this one I just kind of was going, because I didn't want to include all of them, because that would have been a very long video. This is kind of pushing on 30 minutes, which is kind of long for my videos. But yeah, you may disagree, which is perfectly fine. Let me know in the comments what you think. Any of these weapons your personal favorite? Is there other pistols you tend to like that aren't on the list? And yeah, hope you guys enjoy this sort of content. It's something new, something different. I plan on covering all the other weapons in the game, just because there's not a lot of when you try to like search certain weapons and stuff, there's like a lot of videos and stuff on legendary weapons, but there's not like a lot on the base weapons of the game, because that's something I should also add. When it comes to these weapons, adding legendaries to a weapon can make the weapon far better. Like for instance, getting faster fire rate, or 1-inch punch, or so on and so forth. But I wanted to focus on just the weapons themselves and what you can do without the element of like legendaries, because with how RNG legendaries are, you may never get a extended mag, faster fire rate, radiation damage, star shard, or you know, the likes. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and as always, have a good day.